Welcome everyone to SEO Office Hours. My name is Michael Chidzey. I'm an SEO here at Good Signals, and part of what we do, along with special guests, are these office hours sessions where people can jump in and ask their questions around their website and web search. By the way, nobody here is in the hot seat, and we might not know all the answers, but multiple heads thinking about a problem should help. We've had a bunch of questions submitted already, as you can see, which we'll go through. But if there's anybody here live on the call who would like to ask any questions, please feel free to flag yourself in the chat functionality, which will be monitored. Also, there's usually a bunch of other amazing SEOs live on the call that share their ideas, experiences, and perspectives. I personally think that's one of the best things about SEO office hours is not just hearing from the four of us, but everybody else. So please continue to do that. Like always, with me today is Juliana Turnbull, also known as SEO Joe Vlogs. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. We have a lot of people joining us today, and including ourselves, we are dialing from different countries. We have Mike from the UK, London, Aid from Brighton. We have Érico who's dialing in from Brazil. So very early for you. Thank you for being here today. And myself, I'm from Spain. And hello, John dialing in from Switzerland. Simon from, he said, Alexandria. Preeti from India, Rob UK, Mark UK, Natalia is maybe in China. AJ, I think UK. We have Walid, Albert, Odola, Victoria. We have Ikra, Caitlin. We have Favor. We have and a few more people. But yeah, if there's anyone I haven't mentioned your name. I think we've got Nigeria as well dialing in from, and also Bangladesh, and maybe Pakistan. So yeah, welcome to our 74th episode. Really good to see you all here, and thank you always for supporting and joining us. Yeah, so today we have two great, fantastic guests. We have Érico Mafra, who is joining us live from Brazil. So very early for you, Érico.
That's true, but I have my coffee here, so I'm fine. I'm excited to be here with you guys.
And you are an SEO and content consultant for small businesses over in Brazil. You help them grow through content, and you help them with, I believe, some of their local SEO. You've also served as content lead at my side and as SEO content manager at a company called Get Response and Rocket and Rock Content. You have a journalism background, and you also have more than 7 years experience in marketing. You're a strong advocate for remote work, which is great. You're also part of the Logosophical Focal Foundation. That was very interesting, and I wondered if you could let us know a little bit more about that. The Logosophical Foundation, which helps maintain, you said, a primary school in Brazil, Uruguay, and Argentina.
Yeah, exactly. So it's an institution that doesn't have any profit objectives, and its goal is to promote science and a new conception of the human being and life and consciousness, which is called logosophy. And there's also a branch in Europe, precisely in Barcelona. So it's a very nice institution. Feel free to check it out. It does this interesting work in education, maintaining some schools in these countries that Joe mentioned. And it's spreading the word of new perspective on our society and the ways we can evolve as human beings as well. So it's quite cool.
Oh, thank you. We will check that out. You also are quite busy outside of being part of that and your day job. You're a published author on companies such as Search Engine Journal, Rock Content, and SEMrush. I'll just leave your details there so you can connect with Érico. And thank you for joining us. We have Aid Holder, who is dialing in from Brighton, the UK. You are the founder and managing director of a company called 47 Marketing, which is an award-winning and jargon-free SEO agency that works with businesses across the UK and beyond. Before moving into SEO, you were a microbiologist and you spent many years touring in a rock band, which will be getting a resurgence. Very interesting background indeed, Aid.
Yeah, I thought you'd find that bit brilliant.
It's actually
Maybe
a punk band, Joe, even cooler.
Oh, punk. Maybe if you want, you can share the link to your punk band
Yeah,
there.
maybe.
Maybe
We'll
up to
see.
you.
Let's see how we
Okay.
go.
Okay. In the meantime, I will share your LinkedIn profile. You
Cool.
spoke at Brighton SEO in April, and you will be at Brighton SEO again in October. For those that are in the UK, it's Brighton SEO, Brighton in the UK.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much for joining us today. And you work a lot yeah, looking forward to hearing from you because you work a lot with clients on their strategy, their business development, and of course, staying ahead of the curve in what we've seen as AI. I'm sure we'll have some AI questions today. So I will pass back to you, Mike, because it looks like we've got quite a few questions in our 74th episode of SEO Office Hours.
Yes, amazing. Okay, we're going to start with a chunky one because why not? On our pharmacy e-commerce site, we have a section in the main navigation menu where licensed pharmacists answer users' questions about health and medications. When a question is answered by a pharmacist, a URL slug is generated, but often with similar word structure to URLs that have been published in the past in this section. The issue is that users often ask very similar or even identical questions, which means that over time, a large number of duplicate pages and duplicate content with different but similar URLs are created. However, some of these pages rank very well in organic search. The section contains thematic tags and are grouped together by the same or similar questions and answers. Each pharmacist has their own bio with a photo and an exact date of when they responded, and the meta description is generic and the title tag is generated automatically based on the question asked. From an SEO perspective, we would like to understand how to avoid duplication issues when new pages with questions and answers are constantly being created, and what the best approach is to URL handling and structure with a user-generated Q&A section where we don't have full manual control over every URL. What is the best way to delete these URLs? And the third question is, what is the best way to then delete these URLs? Should we 410 code them or delete them somehow? Hopefully you followed along. If not, Joe's just put it in the YouTube comments. Who would like to kick off on this one?
Yeah.
Please go for it.
Great. That's a huge question. There's a lot going on there. I think there was a couple of things. I appreciate the end goal of the question is to perhaps a more technical point of view, but when I was reading through that, I was thinking about what the use is and what the drive is with that UGC stuff, because it's all really good and it all seems like there's loads of really cool content in there. And I was wondering what the driver was and how much it's producing. I don't know how many URLs that's cranking out every week and how much dupe is happening, but I felt like if that was a website I was working on, I'd want to maybe take a step back from the system for a second and just see what value there is at its core, because you could curate that in a slightly different way, potentially, rather than just letting it spin up automatically. I like the idea they mentioned some of its ranking, but we don't know what for and whether it's commercially viable or whether it could be pulled together into a much more of a easier read authority content platform. So I know that wasn't the question, but it just got me thinking. I just don't know what sort of scale this is happening on. I think the other thing that I'd be tempted to do, and it would be pretty painful depending on the volume, is to really start manually reviewing that, maybe on a weekly or monthly basis, and start 301ing some of those dupe ones into the ones that actually have value and they're actually ranking. I think that sort of content is so useful, but if it's en masse, it's unsearchable and you can't find it. And I don't even know really whether, if it's ranking, whether the user's landing on a useful page. Because if they're querying that, they're landing and there's no other journey to that. It's hard to see without the wider thing. It also did, and it's going to come up in later questions, I'm sure, made me think about AI overviews and whether they're currently ranking and whether they still will rank. So again, I don't know whether they're saying they're driving traffic now or whether some of those questions will be answered by AIs anyway. But the final point, I would just quickly wrap up. One of the things we did talk about briefly with my team this morning was one of my guys was very keen on building an AI system that would automatically review all that content and start pooling it all properly and building central pages so that it's all managed at one end, so the user gets a much more clean, and it'll automatically 301 everything. But I love the fact that he said that to me, knowing full well that I can't do that and he can. So I'm leaving that as a cool idea that I cannot execute personally.
Great. Érico, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I agree with this idea. It's probably hard to execute. I would also don't know the way to the final outcome, but yeah, maybe if they can audit this type of content, to see which ones in each question would be the primary answers for that search intent, and then trying to map the duplicates and avoid the signals there as well, like consolidating the signals in just one of the pages and removing the influence of the other ones. And maybe for the future, if they have some type of moderation in that system that they can evaluate if a new submitted question is already too similar to another one, and that will generate a duplicate page. Maybe if they can do that before actively publishing the page, they will allow some of them to be submitted in a new version, in a new page, and others will just be no indexed or will be published as a variant of that first page. But it's complex to do that, to have to establish some sort of score similarity system to evaluate that, but could be an interesting way to go. And of course, doing some hygiene as well, removing those pages that are not relevant. But wow, that might be a huge work to do.
Great. Joe, do you have any thoughts?
They both did very good and thorough answers, actually, in two different points. It was mentioned before, I think it would be good though to just see about the traffic and any sort of transactions for the pages. And I believe Natalia also focused on that. Natalia was saying that looking at to know how well those pages are doing as it comes to get an index. So look at that first, so then you can prioritize the pages. I really like Simon, what he mentioned, because some of these ideas, people have already mentioned them, so I'm just going to say them here. Simon said, why not build a hub page for the common questions and for the answers, and cannibalize the user question pages to the hub. That's a really good idea. Yeah, because we don't actually, at the moment, know how many URLs we are dealing with, what are the common categories. I think the user-generated content is great. I know that this can help a lot. I don't know if anyone uses like NerdWallet. There's a lot of like questions and answers, a lot of different category pages. And I'm sure that they didn't come up with it themselves. I'm sure people were asking before, or Money Saving Expert or before a website. So I think you look and see what the customers are asking and see if you can, I mentioned, put hubs together. And then it was great what Érico said. If you can try and filter out if someone's asking a similar question, can you like bring the other question up without them actually creating a new page? EJ said a good point. Depending on how many URLs there are, you could, yeah, it's unfortunate. You might have too many pages, but it's hard to know without, of course, knowing the details of it. John said that this is quite a good point. You could probably use a simple algorithm to find duplicates and do something with that. And if you want to AI, you could use vector embeddings and similar functionalities, but maybe that's a bit overkill. So I suppose for the person that asked this question, it really depends on the number of pages that you have, URLs, pages, and themes. How much duplication is it for the question?
Great, amazing. The only thing I would add is looking at the question, one of the things they're worried about is duplicate content issues. And actually, I don't think there is that issue because, as you say, you've got licensed pharmacists answering those questions. So every answer is good, even though the questions might be similar, each answer is going to be totally different. So I don't think you have to worry too much in terms of being concerned that your content is being replicated completely across the website. I think where I would have concerns is more whether some of those pages are competing with each other. And I really liked Simon's idea that in those situations, maybe you look at creating some sort of hub. You said that you've got categories or themes or tags or something like that. Maybe you could turn those into kind of key pages for those topics that are popular and you feel like maybe multiple answers are diluting those kind of pages' performance, and bring them together on a page. But I'm with Rob mentioned earlier on that it doesn't seem like there's a huge problem that because you've got different pharmacists answering the questions and it's not like anybody can answer them. It sounds like it's people that you check and vet beforehand. If I was running the website, I would be quite confident that the answers are going to be good. Yeah, I think that the only other thing I would be concerned about is just whether if any of those answers are competing with, say, some of your commercial pages. So you mentioned you're a pharmacy and say, for instance, you're trying to sell products and maybe one of these questions are are cannibalizing your commercial pages, that might be somewhere that I would be concerned. But I'm guessing based on the fact that it's Q&As, it's probably going to be more specific questions, and if anything, it's just going to benefit the site. I don't know if I was that helpful there, because I basically think it's great, and I would possibly maybe once a year look at consolidating older answers and just checking, particularly for important pages. One thing I have noticed working on quite big websites is, although you can have tons and tons of pages, actually it's usually only a small percentage that gets organic traffic from where people actually land on those pages. And so although you've got URLs being created left and center because of questions, actually monitoring where people are coming in from and those URLs can be a little bit easier if you take that approach, where you're looking at the pages that actually get traffic as opposed to just looking at this entire website where people are creating questions. Joe, do we have anything else in the chat?
Yeah.
If anybody else would like to add anything on that question, you're more than welcome to.
Yeah, so frequently asked question section. Hey. Simon said, yeah, we forgot that one. Don't forget the FAQ schema. That was really good. So maybe that's on one of your hub pages. Natalia was saying it took us just 17 minutes to do the it depends John mentioned. Yes, yeah, I think I mentioned that yet. At 17 minutes past. And Monty's saying I'd work with specialists to create those answers and find out which ones are really worth keeping. Yeah, that's a good idea. So consolidation.
Okay, super. Let's go to the next question. Let's go for something a little bit more. Okay, I can't believe we've never had this question before, and I looked back to see, and we haven't. So let's go for it. It's experienced SEOs in the room are probably going to roll their eyes right now. How long does SEO take to work? Aid, go for it.
You know, I will say I cheated. I did put notes and I put lol underneath that. Like that is, I get asked that so much. I get why everyone asks it. Of course, if you're spending money on something with an agency or you've got a team doing something, you absolutely want to know. That's just an impossible question, isn't it? Really? We could go on for hours. Depends what sector you're in, what you want to target, how big your geographic area is.
We've only got an hour.
Brilliant. Let's start with if you've got zero domain authority and it's a brand new site, then quite a long time. If you've got a huge site that's been knocking around for years and no one's ever touched it, and it's just this nice, lovely, clean, powerful thing that hasn't been optimized yet, then we might be able to get some stuff ranking well in weeks and months. But if you're starting from scratch and you've got nothing, then you've got to stick 12 months at least of good work in there before you're going to see what I think is really viable. I'd love to know if everyone's going to shoot me down to that.
No,
by the way.
Not shooting down. I just wanted to say that if you don't do SEO or you're not monitoring your website, you will see the effects of that very quickly, maybe in 1 or 2 days. So I had a client, we did a site migration. Things we're going from changing the domain, and we saw that actually Google thought that the client site was a duplicate of the original site. So obviously we have like Australian site, US site, English site, and they thought that the Australian site was a duplicate of the US site. And so therefore no index that within, I would say, 24 to 48 hours. And you could see in Google Search Console, the no index pages increasing. So that was a real quick way to see, if I don't have any SEO, if I don't have someone dedicated to this type of area of marketing, what's going to be the impact and how long will that take? Yeah. It took 24 to 48 hours.
We had a client who came to us and they'd been struggling and said they don't rank for anything, they don't know why, and other people had looked at it apparently, and the developer had not unblocked it, though it was all blocked in robots. The whole thing had been, since the site was built, for 18 months. These poor guys have been, obviously we didn't build them, we just fixed it, and yes, within 48 hours they were suddenly seeing. So yeah, to that extreme, then yeah, we could say 48 hours SEO works, that's fine.
Érico, do you have anything to add?
Yeah. Oh, that brings me back to my beginnings in SEO, because I worked at an agency that offered SEO services, and their minimum contract was 12 months, and they also had 24 months in advance contract. So I always grew with that idea that it takes long to generate results, and of course that a sustainable strategy is so complex to manage. You got to do so many things, create authority in a competitive space, create content that will match your brand and be consistent with it, earn media reputation in other channels as well to influence algorithms. So all of that is very complex and it's a long-term strategy. But like you guys mentioned, sometimes if you can make some pages that are hidden be visible by avoiding sending mixing signals to the algorithms, then you can have a boost in your discovery, and that will also generate some quick results. Yeah, now I see that it's more practical and doable than it seemed in the beginning, but if you invest on it, if you're patient, it will generate exponential results in the future because they will accumulate, right?
I think there's just to add to that as well. I think there's no such thing as there either. And I think it's really interesting when we're working with clients over a long period of time. It's how long does it take to work? But it depends what your targets are. Normally, as we build a business up and they rank for more, they tend to launch new services or build new products. And then we're going in again and it builds on new areas. So I think it's weird to have it as a determinist point of when it works. It's an ongoing growth strategy that lasts for many years with businesses. So I almost want to encourage businesses to move away from a box ticking and say, when does growth begin? And then growth is a long curve. And then when you get good positions, SEO is still working if you maintain good positions, but it's less exciting on the graph if everything looks flat. But if you're flat and you're first position for everything, then that's working. That's a win. But sometimes people forget that maintaining position is as much effort in many cases as getting there.
Amazing. Joe, do we have anything in the chat on this one?
So many things in the chat. Yeah, thanks. Actually, first of all, John shared the structured data FAQ feature, so please have a look at that. Yeah, Simon was mentioning about, oh, you can drop it in search in just a day or two if you do SEO with AI. I think that's a little joke, Simon. John has said that sites block completely and clueless is very common. So what you mentioned, Aid, yeah, happens quite a lot. Rob has asked, we don't have a site or topic to work with. I don't think we've got that, have we, Mike?
So somebody is in the audience who asked the question. So I've just asked them if they'd mind sharing a URL.
Okay.
Yeah. So basically, whenever people submit a question, it's up to them if they share that information. People usually want to be anonymous.
Yeah.
I've privately messaged, so we'll see. Okay.
Okay. We also have just a comment from Mark that says, he says, I think when it works for the client, it's when they make more money per month than what he spends or what they spend per month. So when I guess they get that whole ROI on SEO. Mark also showed quite a nice graph, but yeah, no context, EJ said, but it did show that a massive spike in traffic. Maybe more you can show us. Maybe that was all your work that you guys did, your agency, and saw a big increase. Just another couple of points. So Steve said that the answer is that Google is quick, but the level of competition is, yes, a regulating factor. So particularly in search engines like the UK, US. Hack sites with content injections rank within days, but then they'll drop again within a few weeks. He has said that they see many examples of this weekly. If you're starting to cover a brand new topic, you also have a great chance. But if you're operating to rank higher, but it is about consistency. If you're operating in an established area, it can take time. And I also just wanted to say, like with SEO, we always need to want to have results quite quickly, but it's not like a paid ad where you can switch it on and you will get those results immediately. It's when you're redoing your kitchen or something, it's going to take a while. You can see the work happening, but it's not going to be overnight. Whereas if you buy a prefab kitchen from IKEA and put it in your house, of course, it's already done. So it's very difficult to compare always the paid search with SEO. SEO is also people are working on your site migrations, and actually the site migration and these type of elements should actually be part of the whole company and not always just sit under the SEO umbrella. Sorry, there was a few more comments as well. Loads of comments. Oh, Mark has shown us a few more graphs here. I can't see at the same time as talking. Hard to multitask. Okay, but he has shared it with us here. That's very interesting. He's sharing the site here, and he's shown that they have got high search volume and also high position for these terms. So that's a great case study. And also, yeah, actually, this is a very good point actually from our lead. He said that if it's a Google My Business profile, he's often seen, or his company's often seen results quite quickly, instantly. Yes, if you do Google My Business and you optimize that, if you unblock some robots.txt files or fix your robots.txt, or if you don't, if you have duplicate content when you do a migration, you will see results, negative or positive, quite quickly. Yeah, loads of comments from this one. We've got, thank you very everyone.
Amazing. It depends of the year. It depends on, like everybody said, where you are in your business or website journey. For instance, if the issues are technical and maybe there are parts that are not accessible to search engines, then maybe it's a quick fix. But if you're referring more to creating a content strategy and building out your pages and all that stuff, I always find that the more you do, the luckier you get. There's no guarantees with SEO, but provided you've got a strategic hat on and you're focusing on topics that, for instance, that people are looking for, and you're willing to invest time creating the best content on that topic and totally answer it entirely, then that stuff does take time. And where I would disagree with Joe with the kitchen analogy, I think hopefully with your kitchen at some point you're happy with it and it's done. Whereas I find with SEO, you can constantly come back to those pages and always look at improving them and making them better to not only maintain the traffic that you might be driving, but also you might have new ideas or new ways to improve that, or things change in your industry or whatever. But in terms of timelines, like sites that I work on, I use SEO Stack to record a lot of the things that I'm changing on websites, and you can basically connect. But you can use Google Search Console. It's using the same data, but you can basically annotate what you're doing. And I take that kind of more data-led approach where we make changes, we annotate it, and we see if those changes have made a difference or not. And then we can apply those across templates, or a bit like SEO testing, but a little bit more manual. And then we can see when we make the changes, what the pages are getting impressions for and what it's getting clicks for and so on. And then we can constantly improve and so on. And in terms of SEO, it also depends on the goals of the site. So if it's a commercial website, then obviously you want to prioritize those terms. And that doesn't necessarily mean tons and tons of traffic, whereas maybe you're a publisher and you make your revenue through advertising, and actually a catch-all is better and you're trying to appeal to more people. But yeah, with that, I usually find it when you first add a page or you make changes to a page, sometimes it can take, I don't know, a week or so for you to notice a slight difference. And then as time goes on, I find SEO is one of those things that consistency is important. But if you don't touch that page, you might see a bit of a change over those sort of next few months, and then often it stabilizes and then you make more changes and so on. But if you imagine you're doing that across tons and tons of pages and so on, that makes a difference. And then there are situations, obviously, like Joe mentioned, with migrations and stuff like that, where maybe it's about redesigning your site's architecture, or maybe you're changing something that might make the website faster and so on, and you might see a quicker shift. You could also go the other way with a migration, so plan properly. Joe, do we have anything else before we jump to the next question?
No, that's all. I just wanted to say for everyone joining us live, thank you for being here. You can also send this link that I've just shared so other people can join us live, and click a like on our YouTube video and subscribe to the YouTube channel. We did take a break a bit of May and June, but we are back and doing this every Friday, even throughout the summer or winter, depending on where you live. So do join us at 9:30 a.m. BST. Our clocks obviously go back in end of October, and it will always be at the same time.
Perfect.
Thanks, Mike, for that.
I've just put in the tool. It's SEO Stack, not Stat, and it uses Search Console data, but it's also a project management tool, so you can tie it to specific URLs to see what changes it's made, and you can set up filters, which I find are quite good for being able to analyze certain sections of the site. But a bit unlike Search Console, where you can't necessarily use filters on top of filters, this you can. So you can say, I want to exclude branded searches, but I want it for these particular URLs, but not these, and so on. And it can by this country and so on. So it can be quite useful. And then you can save those filters as well, so you don't have to keep coming back. That's made by Daniel Foley Carter, who was on Office Hours last year. So maybe we should get him back at some point. Okay, next question. How can we test whether our websites are accessible to AI agents like ChatGPT? I read Multi Polson's experiment where he asked ChatGPT's AI agent to browse and shop on the top 50 Swiss e-commerce websites. Some were blocked by captchas, Cloudflare, turnstiles, and served bot protection pages. Others showed maintenance pages or errors. John Muller has also suggested e-commerce sites should check whether they're accessible to AI agents. So my question is, how can SEOs test this? Is there a reliable method or tool for checking whether AI agents like ChatGPT can browse and interact with your website? Who would like to? Érico, you're nodding. Are you comfortable going first on this one?
Yeah,
Go
I
for
can
it.
start. Yeah, it's quite an advanced topic because this is seems to me like the future or the present of websites from now on can optimize our sites for agents to perform tasks. Who could have thought about something like that? But now I still haven't worked with one website that has this type of user activity from bots trying to perform tasks. So it's something I'm excited to experiment at some point. But I remember an article about from Sear Interactive that they talked about how the AI operator from OpenAI was maybe using Bing to click and visiting a website, and that maybe it generated a spike in traffic. And that could mean that this agent is doing some activity on your website. Maybe this is the first step, identifying whether it's human activity or not, and then getting the foundations on for these agents to perform tasks. But wow, it's something so new to me. I haven't seen it personally applied. So it's exciting.
Great. Aid or Joe, do you have anything
Yeah,
to add?
it's weird because we work with quite a lot of different size clients, and some are small and don't have enormous budgets to run lots of cool toys and stuff. And quite honestly, we're still doing quite a lot of manual checks. We're literally just asking each of the large language models what they know about a given client and trying to pull down. You get quite an early red flag if it's minimal and it's not coming back with anything. Obviously, it's going to force an answer that is, if it starts hallucinating, then there isn't enough information out there and it's pulling all sorts of nonsense from somewhere else. So it sounds really dull, but honestly, I would be literally manually going through some of the major ones just to see what information is available, taking note, and just seeing what sort of traction there is. Also, to be fair, we've set up a line in GA4 to track any AI-based clicks from them, and if you're starting to see traffic, then you're obviously appearing in some way, shape, or form. I know that's pretty broad, but I still think you should start to be seeing a few clicks now. And if that stays at zero for a long time, I would want to go and have a look at that. But I think we're all waiting for some accurate software, something. I don't know about everybody else, but we've been in and out of ranking trackers and stuff for years and using all this other software, and all of a sudden we're out there with no real solid measurement to see what they're seeing and where our positions are. And I think there's a bit of a dash. There's certainly some software out there, but we're seeing really inconsistent results and nothing that I'd want to really hang my hat on, to be honest.
Great. Joe, do you have anything to add?
I don't have anything to add. It was just there's quite a lot of comments in the chat. So if you wanted to say something, I could go to the chat.
Yeah, sure. The only thing I've been doing is I've got a ChatGPT subscription. So I've just been setting scenarios and you can watch the agent do it. I think I would just do that rather than worry too much about trying to find tools. A bit like it reminds me of some of the A/B testing, not A/B testing, user testing that we do, where you just set different scenarios, but instead of watching a human, you watch an agent go through your website. And I've just been doing that with clients that it's relevant for, where you can submit inquiries or potentially buy something from the site. Often you'll find at this stage the agent will get caught at certain points and will prompt you for instance, the website seeing if it's a human using it, and so it might ask you to go in and solve a puzzle of some kind. But in most cases, the sites that I work on have been absolutely fine. I read the article as well, and I think that's what the article suggested really, is that most of the e-commerce websites on it. If you want to test this out, there are others, but ChatGPT has an agent that you can just use and sit there and literally watch it do your work for you. Joe, in the go for it in the chat.
No, that's great. Yes. Why not test it? As you said, like people did user testing, so why not do AI testing? So Simon has said to look at the log files to see who's visiting. Also check your robots.txt file. If the bot isn't listed, then it's going to crawl the site, except Perplexity, who will crawl it even if you block it. That's a good point. John said that actually Manus has an agent you can try for free. He shared the link there, so have a look at that as well. He said he expects many AI agents will only use the browser user agents, and you won't find most of them in analytics. And then actually Chris actually came up with a good question. What do we all think actually to Cloudflare? They put up a paywall for AI agents. So it gives some power back to the website owners to block, earn, or allow AI crawl bots. So that was actually quite interesting. And we've got quite a few people have written in the chat about that. So yeah, that's quite interesting actually. And some people are saying that as an e-commerce site owner, I wouldn't be happy if I thought of blocking, but actually Chris said actually you can override this. Cloudflare allows you. So that's quite interesting that you can have control over that. I don't know if anybody has any other ideas on that. I've shared the press release for Cloudflare in here as well. That's very interesting. We've also got a few other chats whenever I put something in the chat, it moves some of the messages. Preeti said that I was actually trying to access my site through ChatGPT agent and it was working just fine. But I've seen it get confused apparently when I ask it to visit other sites. So I think with AI, we mentioned this last week and a few weeks before, like this is new. So what's going to happen is we can't say, okay, it's happened today, it worked fine. It's always going to be that way, or my site, or I'm not going to use AI. I think the thing is we need to just incorporate this as part of our search strategy. Simon mentioned that if you just ask an AI about your site, it might be scraping the search engines, but test this as well. And he also, Walid's saying that check the top keywords your site ranks for and search those keywords in the Google search bar and see if ChatGPT picks up your site. So yeah, lots of comments here about this.
Great. It's such an exciting time, isn't it? Because historically, we've spent the last sort of 10 years saying how it's about creating content and websites for humans, and as long as it's accessible for search engines and so on. But actually, we're hitting a point now where all of a sudden, and like Joe said, it's such the beginning of these AI agents and what they're going to be able to do, that all of a sudden we're also going to be creating websites for these agents to be able to not just access, but also browse websites and so on. And yeah, just really fascinating times. But like you said, Joe, it's very early. Did anybody have any thoughts on, I think it was Chris that mentioned about Cloudflare.
Yeah, Natalia mentioned that she wasn't against the idea at first because why should LLMs take stuff for free that if it costs actually resources? But she's not sure of the implications for the web for the long term. I don't think any of us know, but is the internet going to be more fragmented in the future? I'm not sure. It would be interesting actually if Cloudflare also did this, it was quite recent. It would be good if they could maybe share some results. What was the impact of this or the effect of taking this policy? I don't know if I've seen anything else about that. Let me just check. Monty was saying, I like the idea of site owners getting the final say regarding their content being used or not, or scraped. And I think that's it so far.
Great. Okay. Super. Yeah, I think the idea of Cloudflare's proposal is that website owners can opt out, but they will be opted in to begin with. That's my understanding. Okay, next quite totally different subject, but okay, so that's the point of office hours, and no, anything could be asked. We're going to start using Brevo, sorry, for email marketing. Should I be panicking about suddenly sending regular emails to a massive list? If we're looking at unsubscribes, spam complaints, and flags, could this then have an impact on the overall domain's rankings? Who would like to kick off? Aid, go for it. Very politely, hand up there.
I was going to wave in the thing. That's a weird one. Do you know what? The thing that first struck me was rather than worrying about domain authority, maybe you should maybe just take a beat before you send out so many emails that you may end up causing that sort of thing. I think these days, whether or not that's the right channel. Personally, I can't see or wouldn't think there'd be any evidence that's going to affect domain authority as a whole. But the wider signals outside of your domain I'd be interested in. If you start hitting people hard enough that you're getting bad reviews or negative sentiment in other places, that I would be concerned about. So I don't think it's something I'd consider in terms of like specific DR, but I would think that's a negative. And to roll it back into AI again, they're pulling from external signals, and a lot of them will still work out what they are. And I wouldn't want to get a bad rap for being the company that sends out a lot of spam. It may well affect whether you're going to get picked or not. So there's a few touch points there, but at its core, no, I don't think it'll affect it. But I think there are wider negative knock-ons if you are going to start hitting people quite hard like that.
Great. Do you have anything to add?
Yep, I agree with 8 on this one. I had an experience working at a software company for email marketing as well, and so this is an interesting topic. I don't see the evidence of direct correlation in that sense as well, but like he said, if you are a bad sender and your reputation goes down, of course that will have an impact on your brand perception as well, and people can review you negatively. You can get some bad rep for that, so you shouldn't risk it at all. And when you think about brands holistically now in this web ecosystem in which all the channels are connected, you just should care about all of them together and make sure you are consistent with it. So if you want to give users a great experience on your website, why wouldn't you do that carefully on your email marketing as well? It's just avoiding sending totally different signals about your brand. You should be consistent across all channels.
Great. Joe, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I would say like I did a lot of email marketing, and I don't know if you can actually divide up your list. So the people that came, for example, to your latest event or signed up for your latest offers, if you can divide that up, because maybe those that are more recent customers, they may be more engaged than those that signed up a long time ago. So sending a regular email to a massive list, it's like I would decide to want to clarify like what you mean by regular email. I think it's actually better to divide up the list if you can, and then you can see what emails have a higher open rate than others. As I said, there might be some that are older clients that signed up with we don't know the context of that if this is an e-commerce site, maybe they signed up for the Christmas period, or maybe these people signed up to receive emails because you did an in-person event or you did an online webinar. So it would be good to, I would say, keep your email lists a little bit separate. And then you can see, okay, the people that signed up to a webinar, they are more engaged than the people that signed up for offers. And also we can tailor our email for those that signed up to webinars. Oh, we'll send them more information about the webinars, and those that signed up for discounts, for example, for Christmas, we'll just send them emails around e-commerce products or offers that we have.
Amazing. The only things that I would add is you say about sending mass emails and being worried. I'd be more worried about your email delivery just in general than this being an SEO. I know this is SEO office hours, but this being a huge SEO issue. One thing if we ever send out emails, one thing we always do is make it very easy for people to unsubscribe. Like I actually encourage people, if they don't want our emails, to do that, because what's the point in sending people emails if they don't want them? And maybe if you're about to do it, maybe that's the first thing you should do is maybe email this database and let them know you're going to start emailing them, providing they've all opted in and they've all gone through the right channels on your site. I'd probably focus, rather than going mass, I'd probably cut it down and focus on the last, say, 30, 90 days to begin with, and focus on those people that, when I say that, sorry, the people that have signed up in the last 30 to 90 days. And I would tell them what this email is going to be, and maybe that's something that when people sign up, you make it clear what that email is going to be. But yeah, we on our emails, we have a huge thumbs up and a huge thumbs down. And if you don't, and please, if you're happy with us, let us know. But if you're not, let us know and unsubscribe, because I don't want to be sending people emails that they don't want. And the other thing, for what it's worth, is I would keep this list. Once you start sending emails, I would clean that list on a regular basis. So if people aren't opening your emails, again, what's the point? I know a lot of people go down the route of let's just keep sending them the same email until they open it, just different subject lines. Don't do that. Instead, if they haven't opened 2 or 3 of your emails that are different, then maybe you should remove them from the list and just focus on having a more active community. Yeah, but I don't think this is a huge SEO problem, apart from the fact that you might be annoying people and maybe people might get annoyed and write stuff on I don't know, your Trustpilot or whatever, or Reddit or something about this company. But yeah, I would be worried and panicked if I was you, but not from an SEO perspective, more from a do these people want your emails? And just remember there's a human at the end of it and just manage it appropriately. And I think somebody said in the chat about grouping or segmenting the database. I think the more personalized you can make these emails, or the more relevant, the better. I work with travel clients, for example, and just knowing where they can fly from, for example, is useful. So if they're based in a certain part of the country, what's the point in sending them information about somewhere that they can't fly to direct? So like little things like that as well can be quite helpful. Would anybody else like to add anything? Or Joe, have we got anything in the chat?
We have a lot of things just around the unsubscribing. So Mark says, asking if unsubscribe, spam, complaints, and flags affects SEO is like asking if the fire raging in your house is going to impact the Wi-Fi signal. Okay, so it's a no. Yeah, so completely. But I like how you put that, Mark. Unsubscribing, Monty says, surprisingly hard. Sometimes there's too many clicks and too many links and things like that. Oh, Simon, he's saying that it could be worse. Could be floods of Google Calendar invite emails for SEO office hours. Simon, we do not do such things, honestly. Monty is saying that, yeah, it's please clean databases regularly. Yeah, and Natalia's just making a nice little joke, EEAT for email. That is like quite a good point, actually. You could actually think about it. What is the point of sending this email? Are these people relevant? Does it make me look bad? Not the company look bad, nothing to do with authority, but would they want to buy from me again if I keep spamming them? Probably not. Okay, I'll pass back to you, Mike. We've only got 4 minutes left.
Oh no, by the way, I am sorry about the email invites. I need to work out something on that. Basically, what it is, when people subscribe to join us, rather than it happening automatically, I add people manually. And the reason for that is I don't want bots joining and therefore taking over, because this is just a Zoom call. And I like it because it feels like it's a real call. I can see everybody on the call. Otherwise, we end up using a platform where there's this distance where we can't see each other and talk and so on. But basically every time I manually add people, that's when you get those invites. And I can't seem to work out a way of doing it without that happening. So I apologize. It's to make these sessions better. And so we don't have
AI bots, note takers.
I've been on loads of calls where you have people taking over. And actually, I think most people here can unmute themselves and talk and stuff like that. And I quite like that. I know Rob's joined us a few times to come and add some points. And yeah, that's me. Sorry. Okay, so we haven't got that long. Let's end with our regular question, but we've only got a few minutes. So as quickly as possible, if that's all right. What are we most excited about in terms of SEO? Aid, what are you most excited about?
All the change. It's exciting. I've never seen it like this. It's crazy. So I think SEO becoming wider search engines. I know we've all been very Google focused, and it's been lovely. And it's cool stretching out and seeing what else is happening. So I'm loving the research. I'm loving all the data. I know, Mark, you're putting up some really cool stuff. There's a load of really cool stuff going around. And yeah, it's exciting. It's cool. We don't know where we're going, and it's fun.
Amazing. Érico, what are you most excited about in terms of SEO?
Wow, there's so many things happening. The FOMO is on, and you're always trying to combat it because you just can't keep up with everything, especially the technological changes. But it's been interesting to see for me how SEO has been increasingly connected to other channels. Like at first, when I started working in SEO, I was just on my bubble trying to get some rankings, and for anything that I could grasp, just like basically every keyword counted, I was happy with it. And now I see that there's a whole new world of channels and strategies that I need to be focused on if I want the brand to reap the benefits of the strategies that we do. It's quite cool. I also have a lot of conversations with my girlfriend about branding because she owns a branding studio, and we're always talking about how like brand positioning influences where you want to appear in search results. And that's amazing. If you're intentional about that, you'll attract maybe less users, but they will be super qualified, compatible with the people that you want to engage with. And that will be sustainable in the future. So I'm excited with this intersection between SEO and branding moving forward.
Amazing. Joe, very quickly, what are you most excited about?
Always events.
Hey.
We have International Social Summit launching in November, and the day after is International Search Summit. I've just said a link there. Loads of different topics from everyone across the world.
Amazing. We're going to finish there. Sorry to the person that just joined us, but you can catch it on YouTube afterwards. Thank you so much to those of you who joined us live. Thank you so much to those watching after on YouTube and those who submitted the questions. Thank you so much to our special guests, Aid and Enrico. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
And like always, Joe, thank you so much. Amazing hosting job. I hope everybody has a lovely weekend. We'll see you next week.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Aid.
Thanks,
Thank you,
guys.
Érico.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you for
Bye.
joining.